I'm Dan, and welcome back to Adventures in Guitarland, where I teach you how to play guitar by playing a role-playing game. So today, we're going to cover the rest of the notes on this guitar, i.e. on those other 3 strings. Before we do, click that like, subscribe, and bell icon so you're notified whenever I come up with new content. And please do that because it really helps out the algorithm promote this channel and get it out to more people. That said, let's jump into today's lesson. So if you have been following along, you've already learned the notes on your E and A string, your 6th and 5th string, as well as that high E string as well. So why is it important to know the rest of these notes? Well, it's really going to help you advance in your guitar playing as we go forward, especially as you start getting above level 10. You start doing things in different positions. You're not always starting a scale or something on these first 2 strings, same with chords. You also get into learning how to build guitar chords. As we know, it's a root 3rd and a 5th. But if that root is here for a G chord on the 10th fret of your A string, well, where are you going to play B? I mean, technically, you could play an inversion and play B here, but then you still got to get a D in there. So there's just things that you have to learn in order to really master this instrument. So before we do, let's do a quick recap on the other ones. So your other strings, remember your high string, same as the low string. Okay, so you have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E, right? Because between E and F, and between B and C, is that half step where you only go up 1 fret. But the rest of them, like from C to G, from C to D, or from G to A, or any other ones, you skip a fret and go to the next one. So 5 from G to A, right? Then you have your A string as well. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So there's those strings. Remember that high E string again, same as the low people. What about the rest of these? Well, if you remember your tuning, when we were talking about this in the last one, E, F, G, A is that 4th. So that next string is an A as well. Same here. A, B, C, D is the 4th, so that next string is a D. Well, that really works across the entire guitar until you get to that B string right there, when it's tuned to a 3rd instead of a 4th. And we'll get to that. It's not as hard as you think. So let's look at that D string. So we have D to E. That's a whole step. So we're skipping that 1st fret and going up to that E. E to F is a half step. So going to that 3rd fret, then a whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C, and then a whole step back up to your octave for D on the 12th. So what you have is D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D again. So again, just like the other ones, D, E, F, G is the 4th, that next string is a G. So here's where it gets a little funky. So you have G to A, 2nd fret because it's a whole step, A to B, 4th fret because it's a whole step, and then B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F, F to G. There's your G string. But unlike the other ones, you have G, A, B, C is that 4th, but that next string is not a C string, it's the B string. So this is where you get to that B string is tuned to a 3rd. So you have to remember that. But that being said, we can still do it. So you have B to C, half step, right? C to D is a whole, D to E is a whole, E to F is a half, F to G is a whole, G to A is a whole, and then A to B is a whole. So what you have is B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now that's the only one that's like that went to that 3rd. The next one is going back to a 4th to get back to that high E. So you have B, C, D, E. So you're back here. And like I said, that high E string is just like your low E string. So now that you know all these notes, there's a couple ways that you can start finding them a little bit faster, especially if you have mastery of the notes on those first 2 strings, that 6th and 5th string, your low E and low A. here's how you're going to do it. So first of all, play through them like you did last time. Play through these, same in your head, going up and down. So saying, all right, so we have D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, E. Do that for all of them. The next thing I want you to do on each string, and this includes your bottom two as well now, because you're trying to learn the entire fretboard, is to start learning where your root, third, and fifths are. So when you start on a note, we're just going to call that the root, and then you're going to say, okay, what is the third? Well, if we'll use D as an example. So we have D, you have E, that's not it. Then you have F, that's my third. Then you have G and A, that's my fifth. So D, F, A, root, third, fifth. So let's just play D's, F's, and A's, and that's it on the guitar. So when you do this, I recommend starting, especially if you're starting out, just start out with your notes that are open strings and start playing from that open string. So we started on a D, so we're gonna play D. So we have D, then we have F, then we have A. Awesome. Where's the next D? Well, it's right there. The next F, right there. The next A, right there. Awesome. But let's go to the next string. So we have D, F, A, right? Then we have a D right there, and F right there. Then we have we do have another A right there, but then we have a D, F, A. Then you also have D, F, A here. Then you would have a D there, and an F there. So go through and find those. That's one way to really expand it. The other thing you can use is you can use the octave trick. Now the octave trick is actually pretty simple, and all that is if you can find a note on one of those two strings, you can find it on your D and G string as well. Let me show you how. So think back to that power chord video, the one I was talking about fifths, where you if we're playing the G power chord, it's a G, it's the fifth, and then it's the octave, it's the G again. If you just remove that note, that fifth, those are both G's. So I know there's a G here and there's a G right there on the fifth fret of the D string. And that works all the way across for both of those particular strings. So if I wanted to play an A on the D string, well, right there it is, because my A on my sixth string, my E string is there, its octave is there. And it makes this little shape where it's just like your power chord shape, only you're not playing that fifth on that second string, you're skipping it. It actually kind of comes up with a pretty cool sound of what an octave sounds like. But you can apply that everywhere, and it's going to be integral later on when you start learning more scales and how to connect them. But if I want to play a C, and if I want to play it on the G string, well, I know that I have a C here, so if I play that same thing, that shape, get rid of that one, there's my C, or D, or B, or E. And that's another way to kind of navigate those first four strings. Now that trick gets a little more tricky once you get past your E and A string. When you want to start playing things on your D and G and play an octave above them, the pattern changes. And that's all because of that B string being tuned to a third. So let's look at a G here on the D string. Remember, E, F, G. And I want to play that on the B string. Well, if we tried to apply that previous one and say, okay, well, let's play a power chord. Well, that doesn't sound right. That sounds weird. Move that note up one. Oh, now it sounds right. So, not an octave, that's an octave. So instead of skipping one fret, you have to skip two to get to the octave. But now I know that is that G. Or E, F, B. And that's how you find it. Same applies for the next string up. So if you're playing something on the G and you want to play that B on the G, you also still need to skip. All right, guys, that's it for this. I hope that helps you understand where all the notes are on here. Next time, we'll go over some accidentals, what they are and where they can be placed. But until then, enjoy your adventure and I'll see you in Guitarland.